Before we begin, just a quick note. This video doesn't use horror footage or jump scares. Instead, I've kept it simple. Just real chilling stories and soft rain sounds in the background. Because sometimes, all it takes is a voice and your own imagination to feel fear. So if you're lying in bed, trying to sleep, just close your eyes, listen, and let the stories unfold. I got this story from a retired school bus mechanic in Oregon, a quiet, older guy who doesn't usually talk much. But one rainy night, we were stuck waiting in the garage during a thunderstorm, and he said, "You ever hear about the girl who vanished from a school bus back in 2009? No? Yeah. They don't like talking about it much anymore." At first, I thought he was messing with me. But the way his hands trembled while lighting his cigarette, and the way he stared at the rain like it brought something back, I knew it wasn't just a story. It happened in a small town called Pine Hollow, barely on the map. Population under 1,000, the kind of place where everyone knows each other and nothing really happens. At least until March 23rd, 2009. That morning, a 12-year-old girl named Emily Harper got ready for school like any other Monday. Her mum packed her a peanut butter sandwich. She kissed her dog, Max, before leaving the house. And then she boarded bus number 94 like she had for years. Emily never made it to school. But what shook the town wasn't just that she disappeared. It was that every single person on that bus claimed they never saw her get on. The bus route was simple. It picked up a handful of kids along Route 7, made a loop through Willow Creek, and arrived at Pine Hollow Middle School by 8:10 a.m. Emily's house was the third stop. Her mum saw her step onto the bus at 7:18 a.m. That was confirmed. The neighbor even waved to her. But when attendance was taken at school, Emily wasn't there. And when the principal called home around noon to check if she was sick, her mother's world fell apart. "What do you mean she never came to school? I saw her get on the bus this morning." That call triggered an emergency search. The bus driver, Tom Berrick, swore she never got on. He said, "I remember the faces, every one of them. That girl wasn't there this morning." Other kids on the bus backed him up. No one remembered seeing her, not one. Maybe she walked to a friend's house after her mum went inside. Maybe she ran away. But the weird part, her backpack, containing her lunch and homework, was found 2 days later, tucked neatly underneath the driver's seat. That's when things really turned dark. The police went through every frame of bus camera footage, but the onboard DVR system was mysteriously corrupted, not destroyed, just blank between 7:15 and 8:20 a.m. Before and after those times, perfectly normal. But the exact window of her disappearance, nothing, not even static. Tom Berrick, the driver, began to act strangely after that. He stopped showing up for work, refused interviews, and when investigators questioned him again, he started mumbling things like, "There was no girl. She wasn't supposed to be there. You can't take someone who wasn't meant to be." He was put on leave, then vanished from town altogether. What really messed people up was the condition of bus number 94. The mechanic who inspected it later said the back right seat was still warm, like someone had been sitting there, but there were no fingerprints, no fibers. And when they opened the emergency exit door, a strange, moldy smell came from inside, almost like wet soil or rotten leaves. Emily's mum said she used to complain about that exact seat. "It smells weird back there, Mom, like a basement." She told her daughter to sit closer to the front, but for some reason, on the day she vanished, she chose to sit in the very back. The coroner, he was never involved because no body was ever found. Only a single line scratched into the metal under that back seat, barely visible unless you looked with a flashlight. She wanted to get off, but something else got on. After that line was discovered, she wanted to get off, but something else got on. Bus number 94 was taken out of rotation permanently. They moved it to a storage yard behind the district maintenance facility, covered it with a tarp. Some say they intended to scrap it, but it's still there, rusting, and for some reason, the school district refuses to junk it. In the months that followed, the case twisted into something nobody could understand. Emily's mum, Karen Harper, went from grieving mother to something else entirely. Obsessed, she stopped trusting the police, started digging into the town's history, into the bus route, into the land it drove over. She found something that most people would have dismissed, but it connected. Back in 1961, a school bus overturned in that same area, Route 7, near Black Hollow Curve. It was foggy, the road was slick, and 6 children died in the crash. The weird part? That wreck also involved bus number 94. Same number, same district. The bus was totaled, but after the crash, the number was retired until 2006. 3 years before Emily's disappearance, the district ordered a new bus, and, by pure coincidence or fate, it was assigned the same number, 94. When Karen found that out, she started to collect old news clippings. One story caught her eye. A survivor of the 1961 crash had described something odd in the moments before the bus flipped. I saw a girl standing in the road, but she wasn't wearing clothes from our time. She looked at me, and then the bus turned. That's when Karen made a terrifying connection. What if Emily wasn't taken? What if she was claimed? She tried to bring this theory to the authorities. They called her unstable, delusional from grief. One officer even warned her to stop harassing the district. But Karen didn't stop. She started showing up at the depot, standing in the rain outside bus number 94, sometimes for hours, talking to it, leaving candy wrappers and small toys near the back wheel, saying things like, "Come back, baby. I'll sit with you this time. You don't have to be scared of the dark anymore." People pitied her, but the night watchman, he said something that still gives me chills. Every time she shows up, the interior lights flicker. Only that bus, like it knows she's there. Then, in late October, around Halloween, Karen went missing too. She was last seen walking into the depot at 2:17 a.m. Security cameras were working just fine that night. They caught her entering, but not exiting. She just disappeared. One moment she's walking past the gate, umbrella in hand. Next moment, nothing. The only thing left behind was her umbrella, torn and soaking wet, leaning against the door of bus number 94. They searched the grounds. No sign of her. No signs of struggle. No footprints leading away. No vehicle. It was as if the rain itself had erased her. And when they opened the bus, same smell, like dirt and decay. But now something new. On the back seat, carved into the metal with what looked like a key. She found me. Word of the case spread online. Some local ghost hunters tried sneaking in. One posted a video, grainy, low resolution. They filmed the outside of bus number 94. What freaked everyone out was this. At 3:07 a.m., in the reflection of the glass door, there appeared a faint figure. A girl with dark hair, wearing a soaked school uniform, smiling. The video was removed 2 days later. The channel was banned for spreading harmful hoaxes, and none of those guys ever tried again. One of them later posted anonymously on a forum, "It's not a ghost, it's not a curse, it's a door. And once it opens, you don't get to choose which side you're on." After Karen's disappearance, the district shut down the bus yard for a full month. They claimed it was for maintenance and liability concerns, but locals knew better. People said something changed in that area. The streetlights along Black Hollow curve. They'd flicker when you passed them. Some drivers reported hearing whispers through their radios near the curve. Soft, static-laced voices that would repeat things like, "You're late. She's still waiting. Sit down." And always, just as the radio would cut out, the engine would stutter for a second. Never long enough to stall, just long enough to feel like the road wanted you to stop. A substitute driver named Marcus, new to the district, told his dispatcher he refused to drive Route 7 again. He said he saw something one morning during pickup. He pulled up to a stop near Black Hollow, headlights cutting through the thick fog. A small figure stepped out from the mist. A girl. She was wearing a school uniform that looked like it belonged in the 1960s. Faded, soaked, and torn at the hem. He assumed it was a Halloween prank, until she looked up. No eyes, just black, empty sockets. She didn't move, didn't blink. He said she opened her mouth, but the sound didn't come from her lips. It came from the bus speakers behind him. "Back of the bus, please." He slammed the door shut and drove straight back to the lot. Marcus never returned to work. The school never acknowledged his report. At this point, the district was under pressure. 2 disappearances, weird reports, drivers quitting. So to calm public concern, they hired an outside investigator, a retired state trooper named Daniel Harris. His job was to review everything, the bus, the case files, even ride the route at night. Daniel agreed. He wasn't a believer. He'd seen worse. Or so he thought. His first night on Route 7, he brought a camera and voice recorder. Around 1:46 a.m., he approached the depot, unlocked the gate, and entered the yard. Footage shows him walking around, flashlight in hand, narrating calmly, until he reached bus number 94. The lights were off, doors closed, interior dark. He tried the handle. It opened. He stepped inside, and the moment the door hissed shut behind him, the camera began to glitch. The footage becomes unstable. Colors invert. Audio cuts in and out. But just before total static, one frame shows something sitting in the back seat. A girl. Head tilted, hair wet, grinning. Daniel's body was found the next morning in the driver's seat of a different bus, bus number 108, still holding his flashlight, but his eyes, wide open and completely black, as if all pigment had drained from his irises. Medical reports said retinal hemorrhage due to extreme shock. No sign of trauma, no wounds, no explanation. His camera melted from the inside. Only the memory card survived. When the files were recovered, all that was visible was a folder titled, "Get off the bus before it sees you." After that, the district permanently shut down the depot. Bus number 94 was chained, locked, and covered again. Motion detectors were installed. No one goes in or out. But if you drive by around 3 a.m., locals swear you'll see the shape of a girl sitting in the back seat, tapping the window, waiting. Over the years, the story became legend, passed around like a local ghost tale. But I didn't believe any of it. Not until I became a bus driver myself. It was my 3rd month on the job. I had taken over a late afternoon shift covering older routes they didn't use anymore. Ones no one really wanted. Guess which one I got? Route 7. I remember laughing to myself when I saw it. Black Hollow curve. Bus number 94. I even texted a friend. Guess I'm meeting Karen tonight. I shouldn't have joked. The first few days were uneventful. Just a routine loop. No kids, no stops. Just logging mileage for the district. But by the fourth night, something changed. I was driving the empty bus through the forest stretch. Rain thudding softly against the windshield. There's a turn just before Black Hollow. Sharp. Unlit trees lean in so close, you feel swallowed. As I took that bend, the interior lights flickered. All at once, not a bulb failing, but like something had breathed across the circuit. Then came the voice. Next stop, Karen. It wasn't from the radio. It wasn't external. It came from the intercom speaker above my head. I froze. I hadn't touched the intercom once that day. There was no one else on the bus. I pulled over, heart racing, staring into the blackness outside. Nothing. Just the hiss of rain. I tried to convince myself it was a glitch. Maybe old wiring. Maybe my mind. But when I turned around to check the back seats, one of the windows was fogged up. Only one. And on that window, there were handprints. Small, child-sized, as if someone had pressed both hands against the glass. From the inside, I wiped the glass. Nothing behind it. Seats empty. Bus silent. But I didn't drive any further that night. I left the bus there. Walked the rest of the way back to the depot in the rain. They found it the next morning. Bus number 94, engine still running. Interior lights on. And on the floor beneath the last row, a single paper name tag. Karen, room 3B. After that night, I refused Route 7. Told dispatch I was done. They didn't argue, didn't ask questions. Almost like they'd expected it. Weeks later, curiosity got the better of me. I dug into school records, tried to find a Karen who matched the stories. That's when I stumbled on an archived article from 1961. A bus accident. Route 7. A girl named Karen Holloway, age 9, went missing after a rainstorm rerouted her bus. Her body was never recovered. The last sighting. A classmate said she had moved to the back of the bus because she was cold. Locals still avoid that route. The depot's locked tight. But if you ever see bus number 94 parked by the side of a road, door open, engine off, do yourself one favor. Don't get on. Even if you hear a little voice saying, "You're late, sit down." Because once you're on that bus, you might not ever get off. After that night, I refused to ever take Route 7 again. When I told the dispatcher what I'd experienced, I expected him to laugh, maybe even scold me for wasting his time. But instead, he just stared at me, didn't blink, didn't ask follow-up questions, just calmly said, "You did the right thing." I asked him if anything like this had happened before. He sighed, leaned in and said, "Every few years, someone hears her." That stuck with me. He said it so casually, like hearing a ghost kid whispering from your intercom was just part of the job. But what made me lose sleep for weeks wasn't the voice, or even the handprints. It was the way he said someone, not some driver, not some guy, just someone. It made me wonder who else had heard her, and more importantly, who hadn't come back to report it. I told a close friend who worked the same yard. He'd been there 10 years. He didn't laugh, didn't joke. He just asked, "Did she say your name?" That was the first time I really felt afraid, because she hadn't. She only said, "Next stop, Karen." But then he said something I'll never forget. "That's good. When she says your name, you don't wake up. After that, I started paying attention to small things. There were always rumors about the late-night buses. One went missing for 3 days, turned up parked in a completely different district, keys still in ignition. One driver quit after seeing a girl's reflection in the mirror when the bus was empty. Another guy claimed he saw the same child outside the depot 3 nights in a row, standing near the gate in the pouring rain. No one ever caught her. The security cameras? Each time she appeared, they glitched, just static and black frames, like she never existed. But the final straw for me came when I decided, stupidly, to revisit the bus. Not Route 7, not late at night, just bus number 94, in the yard, during daylight. I thought, maybe if I faced it again, I could put it to rest. I asked the mechanic for the keys. He looked uncomfortable, but handed them over. The bus had been decommissioned. They were going to scrap it. I opened the door, climbed in. Everything looked normal, until I sat down. The moment I touched the driver's seat, the radio came on. No static, no music, just a voice. Final stop new. And then, silence. I jumped out of that bus so fast I dropped the keys, never went near it again. They crushed it the next week. But sometimes, when I'm up late, around 2 or 3 a.m., I swear I hear the distant hiss of an old bus engine idling outside. And sometimes, I think I hear footsteps in the hall. Wet ones, like someone small, just got off the bus. I tried to move on with my life. Got transferred to a different route, daytime only, no more graveyard shifts. But even in broad daylight, I started noticing strange things, like kids refusing to sit in certain seats, or the intercom crackling without warning, sometimes even whispering something indecipherable when we drive past old Route 7. One girl, about 6 or 7, pointed to an empty spot in the back of the bus one morning and said, "She's sitting there. Why is she crying?" I asked her who she meant. She frowned and whispered, "The girl with the stringy hair. She says she doesn't know where her mum is." That chilled me more than anything else ever had, because I never described what the girl looked like to anyone, not even to the dispatcher, not to my friend, not to my wife. That night, I went back and read the full report. The one about the accident all those years ago on Route 7. The one the mechanics talk about only after a few drinks. Turns out, there was a missing girl, 6 years old, first grader. She wasn't in the crash itself, but she was supposed to be on the bus. The bus had broken down halfway, and a substitute was sent. But somewhere during the switch, one girl wasn't accounted for. Parents thought she got off with another kid. The other kid thought she was still on board. The drivers both thought the other had dropped her home. It wasn't until hours later that her mother called the school in a panic, and by then she was just gone. No trace. They never found her body. No one even knew when exactly she vanished. But this part got me. They checked the security footage from both buses, and in the one that picked up after the breakdown, there's exactly one frame, just one, where, for a split second, a blurry figure appears in the back row. Sitting alone, black hair, white dress, and her eyes, pitch black, looking straight into the camera. They never officially connected her disappearance to anything paranormal. But that single frame was enough to get one of the inspectors to resign the next day. He refused to talk about what he saw, said the camera must have glitched, that it was a trick of the light. But they pulled the camera model. It never glitched again. Not before, not after. The girl's name was Karen Lynn, born 1999. Disappeared May 2005, Never declared dead. No funeral. Just lost. And here's the part I can't get past. The night I heard that whisper over the intercom, she said, "Next stop, Karen." Like the stop itself. Like she's the destination. Or worse, she's the one driving. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying it in my head. Her voice, the echo in the static, the way she said my name like it wasn't a name anymore, but a destination. The next morning, I tried to tell my mom everything. The intercom, the voice, the missing girl. But she just smiled like I was being dramatic. Said I'd been spending too much time online. "You've got an overactive imagination," she told me. "Just stop reading those creepy Reddit stories before bed." But it wasn't just a story. And the next day, at school, something changed. There was a substitute teacher in a homeroom. She mispronounced my name during roll call, even though I'd had the same teachers for 3 years. Then, during math, I saw a girl sitting 2 rows ahead of me. Straight black hair, white hoodie. I froze. The same girl from the picture, from the newspaper clipping, from the whispers, except her face wasn't quite right. It looked normal if you didn't stare too long. But her eyes never blinked. Her mouth was slightly parted, like she was always halfway between saying something and staying silent. And then she turned around. Her eyes met mine, not in a curious, who's staring at me kind of way, but like she already knew who I was and was waiting. The final bell rang that day, and I didn't even go to my locker. I just bolted out of the classroom, pushing through the crowd, heart pounding. I didn't want to see her on the bus again. I didn't want to hear that voice. But when I got to the lot, the same bus was there, same number. Except the driver's seat was empty. I hesitated, standing a few feet away, waiting for someone, anyone, to get on. But nobody did. One by one, the other buses left. The lot got quieter, and the sky darkened with oncoming rain. And that's when the intercom crackled again, from inside the empty bus. "Next stop, Karen." This time, the voice wasn't soft or distant. It was clear, director. Like someone was right behind me, whispering into my ear. I turned around, nothing. But when I looked back at the bus, the girl was standing inside it now, middle aisle, facing me. Her face was still, but the shadows behind her shifted, twisted, like something darker was inside the bus, watching, breathing. She raised a hand, not to wave, but to point, right at me. I didn't move, couldn't. My legs just locked beneath me. You know that feeling when you're in a nightmare and you try to run, but your body refuses to cooperate? That's exactly how it felt. She didn't blink, just kept pointing. And then the bus door hissed open, all by itself. The sound sliced through the silence of the empty lot, and from somewhere deep inside that bus, not near the front, but way in the back, I heard the unmistakable rustle of seats shifting. Then, heavy breathing, like something was crawling forward. I turned and ran, didn't look back. Didn't care if I left my backpack, my books. Hell, I would have left my shoes behind if they'd slowed me down. I just ran home. That night, I locked every door and window, closed my curtains, slept with my phone clutched in my hand, flashlight app open. But every sound, the creak of the house settling, the hum of the fridge, made me flinch. And then around 2 a.m., my phone lit up. Unknown number, no caller ID. I stared at it, breath caught in my chest. The screen stayed lit for maybe 5 seconds. Then it went dark, no voicemail, no text. Until a few minutes later, I got a message, just 5 words. "Next stop, still Karen." I didn't sleep after that. But the worst part, the next day at school, nobody remembered her. Not the substitute teacher, not the kid who sat next to her in class, not even the principal when I asked about the name I saw in the paper. I showed them the picture I saved from the article, the one where she was smiling in that faded white hoodie. They looked at it like I was holding up a blank sheet of paper. One teacher even said, "I don't think that girl ever went here." That's when I realized something. She wasn't forgotten. She was erased. Like the school, the system, reality itself had been rewritten just enough to scrub her out. But not for me. I remembered. Because she chose me. Because she whispered my name. For weeks, I kept my mouth shut, told no one. I avoided buses, walked everywhere, didn't sleep near windows or open closets. But the signs didn't stop. A bus would drive by, empty, and I'd feel eyes on me. My phone would buzz at 2 a.m., only to show a black screen. Once, I even woke up to find mud on my bedroom floor, the kind you get on the soles of rubber school bus steps. Then, it got worse. I started seeing her in mirrors. Not my reflection, hers, standing just behind me, like she'd stepped out of a memory I didn't own. Her mouth was always moving, but I couldn't hear a sound. Until one night I finally did. Lying in bed, rain ticking softly on the windows, I heard that whisper again. This time, right beside me. Everyone forgets. You won't. I sat bolt upright. No one there, but the room felt heavier, like I wasn't alone. I began digging deeper into old news records, police logs, anything about missing kids. And the thing is, Karen's case wasn't the only one. There were others, different towns, same pattern. Children disappearing, after being seen on buses no one else remembered. Desks emptied, names vanished. But in each case, one person remembered. One kid, one friend, one witness. All of them reported late-night whispers, strange dreams, and one chilling phrase. Next stop, Mr. Storyteller. One kid even drew the same map I found in Karen's notebook. Crude routes, spiraling circles. Like the bus wasn't going to school. It was going somewhere else. Somewhere you don't come back from. I'm telling you this not because I want to scare you, though maybe I do. I'm telling you because it's still happening. If your school bus ever shows up late, if you see a kid sitting alone in the back that no one talks to, if your name shows up on a fogged window, don't get on. Because once you take that ride, you don't just disappear, you're forgotten. And someone else, someone just like me, will be left behind, trying to remember your face, your name, and that awful whisper that comes around midnight. Next stop, Mr. Storyteller.